live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. We got a nice 4-gamer tonight, so it's going to be a pretty quick one. Not really too much to go over. We do have some injury news as always, some guys being ruled out, etc., but should be fairly quick and easy to go over. So we'll talk about the top plays on DraftKings. We'll talk about the top plays on FanDuel. If you enjoyed this content, hit that like button. Welcome in, Patrick. Welcome in to Prince. How we doing tonight? Let's do a little bit of a game by game. If you have any questions, obviously we'll go over it, but should be pretty straightforward. We definitely have some spots with some injuries that guys are going to get bumps up, so we'll talk about that as we go along here. But yeah, I don't know. This one might be a little bit of a shorter stream, but Guy at Places says Jordan Poole locked in. Yes, sir. Jordan Poole is a fantastic play, so we'll talk about that as we go along here, but I do agree with that call. Boston taking on the New York Knicks. First game on the slate. This one is going to be the game that I have the least amount of interest in, probably. With everything that has developed on this slate, with everything that makes sense, really just probably doesn't make too much sense to be going here. I mean, it has a low total overall. Both teams are completely healthy now. It's a 209 over-under with a 2.5-point spread in favor of Boston. And there's no one that's really piquing my interest in this one, if we're being honest. Pay-up options, I do think that Jaylen Brown's probably my favorite option in this game at his price tag on DraftKings specifically. He's $9K. I continue to say I think he has just as much upside as Jason Tatum, and he's at a big discount here. So for that reason, I would be going to Jaylen Brown and do Jaylen Brown in this game if I had to pick one guy. The usage is high, the fantasy point per minute production is high, the price tag isn't quite as high as Jason Tatum, not quite as high as Julius Randle. So for that reason, I do think he would be the #1 play from this game for me. As far as a top upside guy at a cheaper price tag, I do think that Dennis Schroeder becomes a pretty interesting option here at his 6K price tag, coming off the bench as a 6-man for Boston, with there being no Peyton Pritchard. I do think that's going to help his usage even more in this one. At a 6K price tag, he's still priced pretty reasonably. I mean, on average, he's going to go out there and have a pretty average game at this price tag, especially considering some of the guys that are priced around the same price range as him that we just got a big bump up in usage. Not too intrigued to be going to Dennis Schroeder. On the Knicks side, there's two top guys that really stand out to me. First is going to be Julius Randle, obviously, up at this 10K price tag. Once again, though, you are paying up for a guy in a rather slow game environment. Good fantasy point producer, but you have plenty of value. You should be able to fit him in your lineups. For that reason, if you want to go to him, I certainly do think it makes sense, but you could also go with a more balanced build I've found so far, building some lineups with all this usage that's opened up. But Julius Randle, decent pay-up option. Robert Williams, Al Horford, unless we get confirmation that maybe like Al Horford takes a rest here on a back-to-back. They did play last night. I really don't have any interest in either of these guys. They're going to cut into each other's usage. Both priced pretty appropriately here. Not really getting too excited to go here. If we do get confirmation that someone's out, like an Al Horford resting, obviously that would change my stance there. Robert Williams would become a fantastic play. So certainly keep your eyes on that news. But RJ Barrett, 6K, has had some really big games as of late. 29, 48 DraftKings points last time out, has looked really good. With there being no Kemba Walker still, with there being no Derrick Rose, I do think he's going to continue to carry the load here. More on-ball handling responsibility. So if you want to go to an RJ Barrett, I think it makes sense. If you're pivoting off RJ Barrett, I think the guy that you would want to be playing would be Mr. Alec Burks. But overall, these guys priced pretty appropriately. We'll talk about a game. The Golden State Warriors, a bunch of guys being out. It's going to be a bunch of usage. The Memphis Grizzlies, some guys are out as well. It's going to be a bump up in usage. So we'll talk about that in 1 second. I got to get some water. So yeah, this next game on the slate, New York Knicks taking on Boston. Done. Detroit, Memphis. So this game, we're still waiting on some big news here with Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks. So if Dillon Brooks is out, obviously that's going to be an even bigger bump up in John Morant. We already have confirmation that Desmond Bane is doubtful, so not expected to be in DeAnthony Melton. Depending upon how this news breaks, I mean, the more of these guys that are out, obviously the even better a play that John Morant comes. His usage would go through the roof at a 9.2 price tag. Would become a big priority for me on the slate tonight. The more of those guys that are out. Also, you do have to weigh in if these guys are all out that Tyus Jones would become a much better play at only a 4-1 price tag on DraftKings. Very good fantasy point per minute producer if there's no D'Anthony Melton, if there's no Dylan Brooks, if there is no Desmond Bane. I mean, the guy's going to be forced into quite a bit of minutes. Great fantasy point producer. He would make a lot of sense. You could also be looking to more Brandon Clark minutes on the wing, so to speak. Not exactly on the wing, more of a power forward, but regardless, if there is all these guys out, Kylie Anderson's not expected to play, John Concher's out, Xavier Tillman's out. That'd be a big bump up for him. We could also see some more Jared Culver minutes. He played 30 minutes in that game against Brooklyn, dropped back down to 16. Kind of how I expected, to be honest. He wasn't really at the top of my list for priorities in that last slate. Someone had pointed out to me he was minimum salary, though, so for that reason I had said maybe he's interesting. But unless there's a bunch of guys out, not really too concerned about going back to him. But, I mean, obviously the more these guys are out, the bigger that becomes a relevant discussion that we're going to have to talk about here with Kyle Anderson and everyone else. Kyle Anderson being doubtful. I really don't expect him to be in. The big pieces of news we're waiting on is D'Anthony Melton, Dylan Brooks. Those are the two guys that could possibly return here. And then I'd have a lot of interest in. Running it back on the other side, on the Detroit side, it's pretty straightforward. You're going with Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey. They're the top two usage guys on this offense. I do think that with Cade Cunningham back, Diallo does take the biggest hit. He's the one that I'm really the most concerned about playing. He's probably going to be the one that I'm continuing to not play. Not because he's not a good fantasy point producer, just because I think that with Cade Cunningham coming back, it really affects him the most. So Cade Cunningham, Diallo are going to be my top two favorite options. We also did just get confirmation that Isaiah Stewart is going to be returning. So I do think he's going to be somewhat limited, returning for his first game since the 21st, and that's going to take away the Trey Lyles play that we had been playing. So they're going to be cutting into each other's usage. So that's going to make me not really interested in Isaiah Stewart and not really interested in Trey Lyles. So that would be my approach there. Not really interested in anyone else in this game, to be honest. And that's my breakdown. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good tournament play. He's very versatile. They've been limiting his minutes, and he just loves getting in foul trouble. Was my problem when it comes to Jaren Jackson Jr. Could he smash? Yes. Am I wanting to get a ton of exposure to him? If I'm being honest, not really. I don't really want to sweat Jaren Jackson Jr. We have some really great other options on the slate that I'm going to be going to. So that could be a mistake. You could get him at low ownership. He could win you a tournament tonight. So I will say that if you want to take the risk, more power to you. Me personally, I'm going to be going to some other spots that we're going to talk about in this next game. Golden State Warriors taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. There's no Stephen Curry. There's no Draymond Green. There's no Klay Thompson. No James Wiseman. No Toscano Anderson. And for that reason, that's going to open up a bunch of usage on the Golden State Warriors side with a projected starting lineup of Gary Payton, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter, Kevon Looney, Andre Iguodala, Damian Lee, Bielitsa off the bench. All these guys are going to become much better plays. My favorite by far is going to be Jordan Poole at this 5.8 price tag. You take Stephen Curry out of the equation. His usage shoots to the roof. He's a great fantasy point producer, and he gets one of the best matchups you could possibly ask for, taking on a New Orleans Pelican squad that has been terrible defensively. Not to mention, when all of these guys are out, it's a far higher likelihood that this game stays close. It's gone all the way down to a 1-point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. So that's obviously, big. We need the game to stay close if we're going to be getting exposure. So I love getting exposure to this game. Jordan Poole, going to start it off with him. Great play. Otto Porter Jr., great play at 5.5. That's too cheap with all these guys being out now. Great fantasy point producer. Gary Payton, too cheap. Another guy I'd be getting a lot of exposure to in my lineups tonight. Going further along, Andrew Wiggins at the top at 6.8, the pay up. He's not quite priced as friendly as these other guys, but the fact of the matter is you take all these guys out of the equation, once again, he's going to have a high usage. He could go out there and drop 50-plus DraftKings points tonight at only a 6.8 price tag. So, great play there. Not priced quite as friendly as the other guys, but certainly like him. Kevon Looney at 3.9 could certainly be an intriguing play. We have seen him play up to as much as 31 minutes in that Utah game with there being no Draymond Green. Should see his minutes go up. I'm a little bit skeptical on Kevon Looney. Out of all these guys, I do think they could possibly go small with more of an Andre Iguodala, Bielitsa lineup if they want to take Kevon Looney out of this game. But fact of the matter remains, he is a very good fantasy point producer. He is really cheap. At only a 3.9 price tag and putting up, some respectable numbers on a permanent basis. Let's see. Pulling up on my side sheet here for the Golden State Warriors. Kevon Looney on a permanent basis, putting up 0.92 DK points per minute. So I don't know what his ownership is going to be on the slate tonight. Kind of interesting to see how many people are going to flock to him. The other problem that I'm having is you only get to pay for one center. I do think that my preferred center on this slate tonight is going to be Jonas Valanciunas on the other side of this game, the New Orleans Pelicans. The center position really not that strong tonight. JV, very good fantasy point producer, should get a lot of minutes with this game expected to stay close. You take Draymond Green off the court, that's going to be a big bump up to him as far as the matchup's concerned. Draymond Green's a very good defender. No more Draymond down low in the post for the Golden State Warriors. That's certainly going to hurt their defensive presence. So Jonas Valanciunas, I think, is a great option. We've also seen Jonas Valanciunas and Brandon Ingram's price tags plummet. Brandon Ingram has gone all the way from 9.6 to 8.1. So that price tag is really standing out to me. He's dealing with an Achilles injury. He's been back 2 games, though. I think his conditioning is up. I think he's good to go. They're not on a back-to-back. He last played on the 4th. Today is the 6th, so, he had that day off. I do think that you can take advantage of the price tag decrease for Brandon Ingram, and then running it back on the other side with Josh Hart and Devontae Graham makes a lot of sense to me as well. Josh Hart only 6'4", been producing at a very high rate, putting up, 35 plus pretty much every single game out at 6'4". That's too cheap for him. Devontae Graham, a little bit more of a versatile option, but he is cheaper at a 5'9" price tag. So I do think there's plenty of options to be going in this game, depending upon your build, depending upon who you're going to. And I don't want to forget about mentioning Andre Iguodala either at 3'8". Great fantasy point producer. We've seen him go out there, put up 30 plus DraftKings points in the low 20s in minutes. There's no Toscano Anderson. His minutes should be solidified, and another great option. So there's a ton of good options in this game, specifically on the Golden State Warriors side, with them being so short-handed. Going to love targeting those guys tonight. And lastly, the LA Clippers taking on the Phoenix Suns. Once again, a good spot here for quite a few guys in this late game. The LA Clippers, there's no Paul George. There's no Kawhi Leonard. There's no Ivica Zubac. There is no Luke Kennard. There's no Isaiah Hartenstein. So for that reason, there's going to be a bunch of minutes opened up. Boston Jr. is listed as questionable. He is expected to play, though. So he's probably going to be on a minute restriction, but that's enough to cut into some of these other guys' minutes that we've been seeing, like an Amir Coffey and some other guys on this LA Clippers side. So Amir Coffey becomes a little bit less of an intriguing play for me, priced at the 4-3. Both those guys should still get quite a bit of minutes, so if you want to go there, I wouldn't call you crazy. Serge Ibaka continuing to start, but really not getting a lot of minutes. He's an easy fade for me at 4-4. We talked about all those other guys opening up on the Golden State Warriors. No need to go to Serge Ibaka for a guy that really hasn't been playing that many minutes. Not really intrigued there. I do have quite a bit of interest in, of course, Mr. Reggie Jackson, 6'1". He is my lock of the night. Love the play. His price tag has plummeted all the way down from 8'1" to 7'3". I think that is a price tag problem. He was involved in a blowout last time. He's way too cheap. Great fantasy point producer. He's going to get a lot of minutes. This game's going to stay close. Reggie Jackson's going to be a big part of it. With there being no Paul George, his usage is through the roof. So I think he's a great play. I also do like Eric Bledsoe, Marcus Morris. I think Eric Bledsoe would probably be my last option of the 3. I do like Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson quite a bit. And you could also be running out quite a bit of options on the Phoenix side. Also Terrence Mann, though. Those guys really all stand out to me on the Clippers side, with there being no Luke Kennard. No Paul George, all those guys getting more minutes, all those guys getting more usage. They do make quite a bit of sense. I am running it back on the other side. If this game stays close, it's Devin Booker, it's Chris Paul. Those two guys lead the way in usage. They're the obvious options on this slate tonight. On the Phoenix side, they're obviously going to have a lot of usage. But Phoenix is also dealing with a lot of injuries in the front court. There is no DeAndre Ayton. There is no JaVale McGee. There is no Jay Crowder. There is no Landry Shamet now. So what does that mean? That means we're going to see a lot of minutes out of Cameron Johnson, Jalen Smith. Both priced very reasonably. Both priced at this 5-3 price tag. And both are great plays tonight. With their front court being so thin, they're going to need these guys to play minutes. You can make an argument to fade Jalen Smith the last couple games out. He's kind of gotten into an issue, and we've seen Bismack Biyombo come in behind him and play a lot of minutes and produce at a high rate. So Bismack Biyombo at 4K would be the pivot there. He's put up 24 and 38 DraftKings points. If you would like to pivot to Bismack Biyombo, I do think that he's a reasonable pivot. They just signed him for the remainder of the season. I think they're really happy with what they've seen out of him. So at a 4K price tag, Bismack could be a great tournament option for you on this slate tonight. Okay, let's answer some questions here, guys. Arizona says Ingram, Adams, or J-Val and Bridges on FanDuel. I would go with J-Val and Bridges because I like Bridges a lot more than Adams. He's one guy that I didn't just talk about, but once again, with the Phoenix Suns front court being so thin, he should play a bunch of minutes. He played 42 minutes last game out. I think we continue to see him play a ton of minutes. So his minutes are going to be solidified, and on a site like FanDuel, where you get the points for blocks and steals. Mikal Bridges, famous for getting some steals. Very good on-ball defender. One of the best in the league. So for that reason, he makes a lot of sense. What's up, KJK? Self says, Self, how you doing? Welcome in. Do you think Jason Tatum will go over 42.5 on FanDuel and John Morant over 47 on FanDuel as well? My favorite of those two would be John Morant. If we do get confirmation that there's no Dillon Brooks and no Desmond Bane, he's going to get a big bump up in usage. So Desmond Bane, I would like. John Morant, I would like a lot. Brizzy says, J-Val or Book on DK. If I had to pick one of those two guys, I would go with J-Val. I just really think the center position isn't looking too strong tonight. I think Jonas Valanciunas is by far the top option. And if J-Val goes out there and puts up 50-plus DraftKings points and you don't have him at the center spot on DraftKings, I think you're costing yourself quite a bit there. Porter, a good play on FanDuel. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about FanDuel next year, but the whole entire Golden State Warriors roster is going to be a really good play here. Porter's priced at 5.8. That's more than reasonable for a guy that produces at a high rate like he does. There's no Draymond Green. He should have more rebounding upside, more scoring upside, all of the above, so I do like him a lot. Adam says, I'm late. Welcome in, Adam. How you doing? You look fantastic with that KJK DFS logo next to your name, man. Welcome in. Hope you're having a good day. And if you have any questions, let me know, Adam. I got you. All right, guys, so let's talk about the FanDuel side of this slate tonight. Bringing up the FanDuel projections on my sheet over here with the multiplier. Let's see. All right, so a lot of the same stuff we talked about on this slate so far, but we're going to go over it once again. Two of my favorite plays on FanDuel are one going to be my lock of the night and two the open value for Jordan Poole at the point guard position. Jordan Poole, Reggie Jackson, both priced at 5.7. They're both guards that really stand out to me as phenomenal plays on FanDuel. Both guys I'd be getting a lot of exposure to on this slate tonight. So we'll start off there. With this value opening up on the Golden State Warriors side, makes a lot of sense to be going to these guys. So Jordan Poole, phenomenal play. Reggie Jackson, phenomenal play. I would certainly be willing to get quite a bit of exposure to these guys. Julius Randle priced very reasonably over here on FanDuel, a lot cheaper than he is on DraftKings. So for that reason, they're kind of making it easy to want to just lock him into your lineups at a 9K price tag. It's much easier to be giving you the go to play him over here than it is on DraftKings. Still think he's a pretty reasonable play on both websites, but on FanDuel specifically, do think he makes a bunch of sense. Brandon Ingram and Andrew Wiggins at the small forward position. Both guys priced very reasonably over here on FanDuel as well. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins gets the big bump up with there being no Draymond Green, no Steph Curry. So at 7.2, he becomes a really good play over here. Also, Brandon Ingram, we talked about it. His price tag just continues to drop. So I want to take advantage of that price tag dropping. Josh Hart priced up much more reasonable over here on FanDuel at 7.6 than he was on DraftKings. So it's a little bit, less of a desire to get the Josh Hart. I'd probably want to just go with Brandon Ingram over here on FanDuel. Josh Hart's still a great play overall, but it's a lot less appealing on FanDuel at this price tag. So that'd be my approach there. Cameron Johnson as well. We talked about him on the Phoenix side. This Phoenix Suns front court really dealing with a lot of injuries, so he's going to be a great play on both websites. He's at the small forward position. He's only 5'5". He's another spot that you could certainly be looking to on this FanDuel slate. And yeah, we did just get confirmation that Nerlens Noel was ruled out. So that is the latest and greatest news coming through. So that's going to be more minutes for Mitchell Robinson, more minutes for a Taj Gibson as well. So just so you guys know, that news did just come through. And as far as anyone else on the FanDuel slate, I mean, Mitchell Robinson himself at a 5.4 price tag, pretty respectable play. You get the points for the blocks on FanDuel, so I certainly wouldn't mind going there. But I think we did a pretty good job of talking about some of my favorite options right there. Point guard John Morant is a pay-up option, like I said, especially if all of these guys get ruled out on the Memphis side. He's just going to be, a really great play on the slate with a lot of high usage, so he would become a priority for me. Shooting guard Cade Cunningham going to be a great play on the Detroit side at only 6.8 on FanDuel. I think that is way cheaper than his DraftKings price, right? It's got to be. Just from seeing that, I just had some sticker shock. Yeah, he's 7.9 over here on DraftKings, so he's someone I would certainly be willing to get a lot of exposure to on FanDuel at 6.8. That is too cheap. Memphis team that's really not good defensively. Certainly would like Cade Cunningham. RJ Barrett at 5.9, priced very reasonably if you'd like to go there. Gary Payton at 5.3, definitely in play now with Stephen Curry being out. He should get a lot of minutes. producing in the mid-30s the last couple times out. Now he should get more usage, more minutes with there being no Steph out there, no Draymond. So he's obviously, another piece that you go into the Golden State Warriors side. Marcus Morris at 6'9", priced much more reasonably over here on FanDuel once again. So he's a guy I might not have quite as much exposure to on FanDuel as I do on DraftKings, where he's priced all the way down to 5'6". So that'd kind of be my approach there with him. And Mikal Bridges, we talked about him on FanDuel. Yeah, he's going to get a ton of minutes at a 5'4" price tag. He's really good at getting steals in the lane. So he's a guy that I would certainly be willing to get some exposure to. He's kind of more of a cash play game, I would say, though, instead of a tournament play. He could pay off in tournaments, but overall, I would consider him to be more of a cash type play. And yeah, I mean, that's where you're looking to, guys, on this slate tonight on FanDuel. Those are some of the top plays. At the center position, Jonas Valanciunas is priced even cheaper than he is over on DraftKings. I do think that he would be a top priority for me on this slate tonight at the FanDuel website. Jonas Valanciunas, Jalen Smith, Bismack Biyombo, you can go there in the mid-range if you'd like to. Steven Adams at 5'4" if you want to go there. Kevon Looney, with there being some injuries to the Golden State Warriors, could be an interesting play at 4'9". But overall, my advice would be to make it a priority to get to Jonas Valanciunas. That would be my approach on this slate tonight. Might burn me, but I think it's smart. I like Tatum a lot today, just playing on MSG. I can see him doing well just to show out in the Garden. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I agree with that. Nationally televised games and all that fun stuff. My problem with Jason Tatum is his price tag. I think that Jaylen Brown has very similar upside to him, and Jaylen Brown is cheaper on both websites. So to me, I would much rather go to a Jaylen Brown. That's how I'm approaching that. That's how I always approach it with those two guys. I think they have very similar upside when they're both in the game together. But don't get me wrong, Jason Tatum could go out there and dominate the usage, have a really big game. If you're really high on Jason Tatum, I don't want to talk you off him. I'm just being honest with you. My approach is going to be to play Jaylen Brown over Jason Tatum because I think they kind of have a similar output, similar upside, and you do get Jaylen Brown at a discount in comparison to Jason Tatum. So that would be my approach. But if you want to go for Jason Tatum, that's your thought process, the big game, MSG, I don't hate that whatsoever. I certainly think that's valid. Tap My Life says, how do you get a KJK tag? LOL. Yeah, so, good question. You just have to join the KJK DFS fan club, which you would do by joining the channel. Below every single one of my videos, the stream right now, you see a join button. Patrick helped you out in the chat, looks like. But that's how you do that, and you can sign up. There's a bronze, a silver, a gold, a platinum level, and there are various price tiers. It's just a way to show support. But also, when you get that KJK DFS badge, you do become a KJK DFS fan club member, which means when I see your questions in the chat, in the comments, you are top priority. Anyone with that badge showing support is the first person to get their questions answered. If we're running low on time and there's someone with a badge and someone without a badge and you have a question, you get your answer because you're showing that support with the that badge, the KJK DFS fan club. You get some exclusive emojis, all that fun stuff. So yeah, if you want to show support to the channel and get that badge, you just hit that join button below this video. I think there's a lot of people that don't know about that, so sorry. It's kind of a long-winded answer there, but I just want people to know about it. Brizzy says, do you like Herbert Jones on DK tonight? I think that Herbert Jones is a respectable play. He, on average, isn't the best fantasy point producer. They don't really have anyone out to bump him up anymore, but his price tag is very friendly. He's playing a lot of minutes. So at 4.5, I certainly think he's a valid tournament play. I would not be surprised if he went out there and dropped 40. I would not be surprised if he dropped that, 25 like he's been doing. He's a little bit unpredictable. He's kind of last in the rotation as far as usage is concerned. So, yeah, he's priced at a friendly enough price tag to where I would certainly give you the green flag to go ahead and play him. Self says, do you think Jason Tatum will go over 42.5 on FanDuel and John Morant over 47 on FanDuel as well? Yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked. I didn't answer that question. Yeah, I did actually. No, John Morant. Yeah, Jason Tatum at 42.5 on FanDuel. I'll tell you right now whether I think he's going to go over it. 42.5. Jason Tatum, slow-paced game. What I'm projected for? Yes, I do think he will be under. I don't think that Jason Tatum quite had the biggest game, to be honest with you. I would take the under if I had to there. I think that's a very appropriate line, though. I've got him projected for right around there, so it's not something I would be getting excited to pick the over-under on, but if I had to, I'd take the under. And John Morant, it's really depending upon the news. We need to know whether these guys are in, whether a Dillon Brooks is in, whether a Desmond Bane is in, whether a D'Anthony Melton's in. If all these guys are ruled out, John Morant's usage is going to be through the roof. He's going to be one of the top plays in the slate. and he would definitely be a top priority for me on this slate tonight. So that'd be my answer there, guys. If you're enjoying the stream, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload, guys. I'll be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these NBA DFS slates. Help you guys become better NBA DFS players. Help you win some money night in and night out. And if you weren't aware, the sponsor of the channel is Parlay Play. If you haven't signed up for Parlay Play, I don't know what you're doing. We have been doing phenomenal on Parlay Play. We have turned $10 into over $400. I didn't quite get a chance to update this graphic, so just bear with me. But last time we checked, we were at $534.85, starting from only $10. You can sign up with the promo code KJK003 today, and when you do, you will get an instant match deposit up to $50. You also get a risk-free $10 to play with right off the bat. And that would be very wise on your part, because I'll be giving out picks on the channel all year long for Parlay Play. And results speak for themselves. $10 to over $500 right now. That's going to be deducted by $75. So we're in the 400 range, just so you know. But I do have a couple picks tonight. Every 10 likes that we get, I will give you a pick. We're already at over 10 likes. If we get up to 20 likes, I have 2 picks for you that will multiply your money by 10 tonight. So hit that like button. But sign up on Parlay Play today. Use my link down below in the description. I put it in the chat as well. Use that promo code KJK003. If you haven't signed up yet, you're missing out. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up my first pick for tonight. Maybe both, because I don't have a graphic, so you might get a sneak peek at both. But if that's the case, that's fine. I'm a man of the people. Let's take this graphic down. Let's go to my Parlay Play entries. Let's see my entries tonight. The first one that I really like here is this Golden State Warriors New Orleans Pelicans game. Over parlay points for Brandon Ingram, Andrew Wiggins, Jonas Valanciunas, Gary Payton. I think these lines are too low. It's a $25 entry. If you get all 4 right, you will multiply your money to $250. So, if you haven't signed up for Parlay Play, sign up for Parlay Play today. Use that promo code KJK003 and lock this pick in. Brandon Ingram, Andrew Wiggins, Jonas Valanciunas, Gary Payton. Love the play. And that is my first pick tonight on Parlay Play. Sign up today. Use that promo code KJK003. Just click on the link in the chat. I already put it in the chat. It's down below in the description box of all my videos. Also, if you haven't, you should sign up for the KJK DFS Premium Content. The KJK DFS Premium Content package is very affordable across the industry compared to the other packages that are out there. It's only $19.99 a month. You get access to my premium NBA projections, NBA data sheet, player stats, team stats, play contact stats, and my core plays, as well as the Discord chat. So if you aren't a premium content member, I would highly suggest that you become one. If you're playing NBA DFS every night, it's really going to help you become a much more profitable player. And you can sign up using the link in the chat, patreon.com/_KJKDFS. So check that out. If you have any questions, guys, I'll be hanging out here for another 10-20 minutes. If the questions keep rolling in, if not, I'll probably sign off, answer my premium content members' questions, all that fun stuff. Adam says 1 point off with Van Vliet and Holiday. Yeah, man, last night was tough on Parlay Play. I was really confident in that pick. In that Milwaukee-Toronto Raptors game, there were plenty of points scored. It was a fast, up-tempo game. Those guys play a ton of minutes. And unfortunately, Van Vliet and Holiday just really let us down. So, a couple points, that was the difference between losing $25 and winning, $250 and profiting $225. So that was unfortunate, but we were really hot for a couple days there. So, we're looking really good with our bankroll still. If you've been following along, if you haven't been following along, you need to join this venture because, turning $10 into over $500, now over $400 is very good. It's a very good return on investment. If you're not tagging along, tracking the picks, I do think that you are missing out. So check it out. Sign up. Use that promo code KJK003, and it's a really fun format. It's a good way to get different than playing DraftKings and FanDuel and sponsor the channel. So it's another way to show support for me. So I appreciate it. If you sign up using that promo code, helps me out. All right, let's see if we have any questions, guys. If we don't, I'm probably going to bounce out, but I would love to answer any questions. Patrick says, I feel your pain. Yeah, man, I feel your pain too. That was my pick. I locked those in. And unfortunately, we just weren't quite able to get there last night. So The big thing that I will tell you guys before we log off this stream is make sure you're paying attention to that Memphis news. If we do get confirmation that Dylan Brooks, D'Anthony Melton, all those guys are ruled out, it's going to be a lot more interesting to be playing some Tyus Jones. Ja Morant becomes a phenomenal play. So that's the biggest piece of news that we're really waiting on here. The more of those guys that are out, the more that minutes are going to, free up in the rotation. And we could... No Celtics players are going to be rested as well. We just got that confirmation, so Al Horford's going to be in. That makes it so I really don't have that much interest in the Celtics, guys. Like I said, my favorite play would be Jaylen Brown. But yeah, this Memphis side, if there's no Bane, Brooks, Anderson, Melton, I mean, someone's going to have to play minutes, obviously, and someone's going to have to produce. So would be a big bump up to guys like a Killian Tilly, a Jaren Jackson, a Steven Adams, a Tyus Jones, a Brandon Clark. Those names that I just listed off would become much, much better plays. So that's the biggest pieces of news that we're waiting on for this slate tonight. Self says, who's your highest projected player on FanDuel? My highest projected player on FanDuel right now, my highest projected player on FanDuel I think is going to change because I have to do some moving around the minutes. So overall, it's really close tonight, I got to be honest with you. But I would anticipate when my projection runs is all done, it's going to be Ja Morant as my top projected. So, yeah. Brizzy says, CP or book tonight? I would go with Chris Paul there, and I'm going with Chris Paul at his respective price tag. If you have the extra salary to get up to Devin Booker, I certainly don't hate the play, but I just think that Chris Paul's price tag continues to be too cheap around the industry. Really grades out as a phenomenal play for me. He's only 7.3 over here on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I know he's priced very reasonably as well. I think he's 7.8 over here. If I can pull this up. And I have the Boston New York Knicks game selected. That's why it's not coming up. There we go. Chris Paul, 7.8. Very good play at that price tag. He's just very affordable. Devin Booker, however, the price tag is... It's just appropriate. I mean, the guy can smash. Devin Booker can go out there and put up 70 points on any given night. The guy's a straight bucket. He gets buckets. He put up 33 points last time. He can go out there and drop 50 real-life points anytime. So for that reason, with the upside, I certainly would not talk you off playing him. But the fact of the matter remains, if both these guys go out there and just have a average or slightly above average game, I have a feeling you're going to be much happier with Chris Paul's performance at his price tag. So that is why I would go with Chris Paul there. It's very reasonable to play both those guys if the game stays close. Right now, we're looking at a 10.5 point spread in favor of Phoenix, so there's a possibility that this game blows out. If the game stays close, though, with Chris Paul and Devin Booker on the floor, they could easily both get there at their price tags. So if you want to stack up this game and run it back with a bunch of LA Clippers guys, then I do think it's reasonable to play both of them. I would just make sure you're getting a lot of exposure to the other side, probably at least 3 of those LA Clippers guys that we talked about having the highest usage. So 3 of Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, Terrence Mann, and Marcus Morris. At least 3 of those guys if you're playing both Chris Paul and Devin Booker. It just makes sense for your lineup to be getting that exposure so that the game stays close, you're running it back, and you're capturing the entire upside of this game if it does indeed stay close. So that would be my advice there. All right, guys, last call, 60 seconds for the last questions. If you do have any questions, please do ask them in the chat. I will gladly answer them. If you don't, for my premium content members, I'm going to be updating my core plays, updating my projections, answering any questions for you in the Discord chat. If you are not a premium content member, you're missing out. You need to become one. If you don't want to become one, have fun. But I think we're killing it in the KJK DFS premium content space. And if you just can't afford to, or you don't want to because you don't play that much, that is completely reasonable. But if you're playing every night, I really think you need to climb in here. If you don't play every night, if you're more a casual player, if you don't play that much money, understandable. I will be providing free content on the channel all season long. But for those of you that play every night and you haven't joined this package, hop on in there. It's going to be worth your investment. $19.99. You will get that return on your investment very, very quickly. I can promise you that. Daryl says, Ingram, Paul, or Booker? That is a fantastic question. I mean, the thing is, Chris Paul's price tag is just really friendly. So once again, I would go with him at his price tag. I really do like Brandon Ingram, though. because Brandon Ingram's price tags come down. So if I had to rank those three, I'd go Paul, Ingram, Booker. Adam says, what's crazy is a lot of people think Chris Paul can't go out there and score 25 and if you want to. Easy to, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. He's just more of a contributor with the way this team plays right now. He had 15 assists last night, 16 assists the game before. He's only put up 7 or 11 points. It's only a matter of time before he drops 20-plus points and, 10-plus assists. And this could certainly be the game where he does it. Taking on his former team, the LA Clippers. Chris Paul was the LA Clipper for quite some time. A little bit of a revenge narrative game. Maybe he wants to show out against his former team. And yeah, I agree with that statement 100%. He easily could go out there and drop buckets a lot more if he wanted to. It's just his role on the team. He kind of, he's a contributor. He plays great defense. That's kind of what Chris Paul does. So, 16 people in here, guys. 11 likes. If you enjoyed the stream, hit that like button. I got to bounce out of here. I'm going to update my projections, update my core plays, all that fun stuff. If you're just tuning in and you weren't able to catch the stream, you can run it back. The pre-recorded version will be up on the channel, so you can rewatch it over. Wish you all the best of luck tonight, guys. Sign up for Parlay Play using that promo code KJK003 so you can lock in that pick that we went with. Take the over on Brandon Ingram. Take the over on Jonas Valanciunas. Take the over on Gary Payton. Take the over on Andrew Wiggins. And we're going to turn $25 into $250 two nights, hopefully. So we'll catch you all in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. If you did, hit that like button. Wish you guys all the best of luck. We'll see you in the next one, guys. I am out of here. Peace.